Welcome back to the Eagles Perspective podcast. Today I'm joined with AJ Ellis. Say hi, Aj.
Hi, guys.
And Mr. Ciliano.
Luke, thanks so much for having me on the show.
Yes, this is actually my podcast. I've been running it for 25 years because I'm 25 years old.
Yeah, good.
And still in high
still a junior.
And still a junior.
That'll tell you something about Luke, ladies and gentlemen.
That's it.
Okay. Should we get started now?
Oh, goodness.
Welcome back to another episode of our Eagle Perspective podcast. I'm Mike Siciliano, Dean of Students at the Upper School. I'm joined today by two of our current students, AJ Ellis, Senior, and Luke Seim, Junior.
Yep.
Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
I'm thrilled to have you. Couldn't imagine two better students. That's not true. I probably could imagine it, but you guys are great.
Well,
yeah.
I'll take it.
I like to be sarcastic with these two. So we're going to talk about your recent trips. You just got back from two of our international trips.
Yeah.
You should probably introduce yourself first. Let's start with AJ.
Okay.
Aside from being a babysitter extraordinaire, who you've now for 4 years kind of watched my kids.
Yeah.
Yeah. When you're available, because you're pretty busy. I get a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Tell people about when you started at Santa Fe and what other things you're involved in here.
Yeah. So I came to Santa Fe in 7th grade.
Okay.
It was the first time I had switched schools. I went to the same school for all of elementary school. But I really loved it here. And it's been really cool to be involved in a lot of things at Santa Fe. I've done just about everything there is to do here. I did cheer for all 4 years of high school, which was a blast. I really loved the cheer team.
Captain of the cheer team.
I was captain this
Eagles
year.
are what?
Eagles are red hot, Luke. It's just what we are. Appreciate
Luke
that
pays
one.
attention at the games.
Luke pays attention. Luke
there.
shows up.
I'm there.
Yeah, I attended all of the sports games that I could, which was really awesome. I was in the musicals for all 4 years, just the spring musical.
What was your role in the most recent production of Beauty and the Beast?
I was LeFou,
And
which
I think you stole the show. It was hysterical.
It was
thank you.
phenomenal.
It was
fantastic.
It was very fun. That was the most fun role I've ever played. Mr. C knows what he's doing. When I got the role, I was like, uh-oh. And then it turned out to be
I'm
the
the
most,
guy.
I know. I was like, oh, this is going to be interesting. And it turned out to be the most fun. So yeah, I've been involved in a lot of things and it's just made high school a really fun time.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, and you just went to Nepal,
I did.
and we're gonna get to that.
Yeah.
First, we're gonna hear from Luke, the amazing Luke Seim.
I am the Luke Seim.
Tell us about yourself. When did you
There's
get to
only
Santa
one of me.
Fe? What are you
So,
involved in?
I came here in 6th grade, moved from Palm Springs. Involved in, just some soccer.
Soccer.
Like every single day of the week. It's way too much. Okay. All the days. Just went to France. Awesome. Life-changing. Get into that later. But yeah, love it. 1 more year to go. She's a senior. She's getting out of here. And I'm a junior. And I'm not getting out of here.
Not yet.
Not yet.
1 more year.
Not yet.
You're also on our chapel development.
I am also in chapel
Okay.
with Aj.
Yeah.
Yep.
Boom.
That's right. Both of you do that.
Yeah.
We do that.
Yeah. Do you remember last year when I gave you a detention in chapel?
Yes, I do remember that. That was
Ironic.
pretty cool.
Yeah.
It was a dumb dress code thing, if I remember.
Yeah,
right.
it was. It was.
Yeah. And
We're in dress code today.
You are, because it's Friday. You're allowed to be in the
because it's
t-shirt.
Friday.
Yeah. So
Repping the SFC
that-
shirt.
what did that do for our relationship? Actually, in a weird way, I feel like it helped us.
It helped us.
Yeah,
I
I
didn't
think
really know anything about you, and then I was like, oh.
You're like, he's terrible. He's
then
actually.
Then I was like, oh. Now I just get to go and hang out with Mr. Week for like 45 minutes after school.
30 minutes.
But yeah, it was great.
Yeah.
Hey, Mr. Week's
That's
not a
good.
bad one to hang out with.
I mean,
No,
that's,
it was a great time cleaning
Yeah.
coffee mugs. We were just
Disclaimer.
did you clean this one?
maybe.
Okay.
Detention's not
Yeah,
that
it's not, huh?
I'm going to be honest. I've had 1 detention in high school.
Yours was
And-
tardies?
Yeah.
Okay. We're really hitting on the major things that
I'm
are
just
the
saying,
most important
detention is
at
not
Santa Fe.
that bad. I got to
Yeah.
hang out with Miss Taylor and deliver some things and clean out some coffee mugs.
Yeah.
I loved organizing that room. I was like getting everything in a row. It's
Good.
great.
I noticed you haven't got another one, so there must be
No.
some level of deterrent.
Yeah.
So that's good. Yeah. All right, let's talk about travel. You were a part of some of the first trips to go out post-COVID. I mean, we hadn't had any trips since 2020, and we've talked with a couple of your counterparts on some of the other trips that have gone out. But what made you want to apply for a trip? Let's start there. Why did you say, yes, I'm going to raise my hand and try and take this trip?
I think for me, when I was in 8th grade and trips were still going out, I was like planning how I could get the max amount of mission trips into my high school experience, which
Like you were going to go every year.
Oh, I was going to
awesome.
try. I was like, I'm going to skip freshman year because freshmen don't really get on that many trips. And then sophomore, junior, senior, like I was brainstorming how I could get on like the most trips because I love to travel. I love mission work. And it's just a really cool experience that I feel like you just don't have that many opportunities to go on mission trips and to like be able to share the gospel with other countries. Like it's so wild that that's an opportunity at Santa Fe, and I'm so thankful for that. And then when the trips all got canceled for my first 3 years of high school, I was like, this is unfortunate. How am I gonna be able to go on a trip? So I was really excited when they opened up again, and I knew I wanted to go on a trip. I just didn't know which one. And originally I wanted to go on France because I took French for 5 years, and I thought that was like dead set on going to France. And then when Nepal, the slide came up, I was like, I don't even know where that is. Like, it could be in South America for all I know. Like, I had COVID
exactly where it
geography, so I don't know where Nepal is.
COVID
like,
geography is a great way to put it.
right? I was like, I don't know where this is. I don't know anything about the culture. I knew nothing, but for some reason, I was so drawn to it. And I kept thinking about it and still didn't know much. I talked to Miss Rugi a little bit, but I just felt really called to Nepal. I could not stop thinking about it, which was weird because I was dead set on France. And so I was struggling a lot because I didn't have that many friends going to Nepal, and all my friends were going to France. Madame was going to France, like my people. And for some reason, I still felt like I needed to go to Nepal. And so for that reason, I was like, this is the trip for me because all of the odds are like against me in a way. Like I feel like I should be going to a different one, but for some reason, my heart is set on Nepal. And so for that reason, I was like, this is not for me. Like this is God speaking to me, telling me where I need to go. Because if it was for me, I would be going where I felt comfortable in a trip that I like knew about in Nepal. No one had ever gone before. I didn't know who was going. And so I was like, I feel like this is a little bit bigger than AJ right now. I feel like this is something that is going to be the best plan. And it's not from me.
I love that. Thank you for sharing that. Luke, how about for you in France?
Well, I actually remember texting you like twice. I was like, Adj, are you going to France? She was like, oh, I don't know. And then she went to Nepal.
Yeah.
So
Did she say it was because you were going to France?
Yeah, I actually don't like you. Just
Yeah.
like slide over here, actually.
What made you want to go to
for France? Well, my sister was going.
Yeah.
And then, so our French class, we have like a little, it's like, there's 4 of us, and we're really close in there. And they were all going to France. And I was like, well, I might as well just jump in. And Madame is like my favorite human ever. And
I mean, I guess I'll try not to be offended.
That's my bad. Since in 8th grade, when I saw in chapel, like all the mission trips that the high schoolers were getting going and I wasn't, I was like, I need to go on like all of these. 2020, 2021, not successful. Obvious reasons.
Or 2022 for that matter.
And 2022. Yeah. And then France was there, and I was like, well, I get to go hang out with Madame. I don't really know anything about what we're doing or anything. I don't really speak French. Like, I'm in French class just because I'm in French class.
Because it was that or Spanish?
Yes.
Yeah.
And then I just went to France, and it was probably the best thing I've ever done in my life. And now apparently I speak French.
Okay.
There you go. And
So,
did you Zoom with the kids before?
Yes,
too?
yes. We met with high schoolers there who we've been pen paling with on projects like flip grids back and forth for like a year and a half. So it was cool to meet them.
Yeah. So you had spent a year and a half with these kids online, and you got to actually go meet them in person.
Yeah,
Shout out to AJ, who just successfully had a follow-up question on the podcast. Like,
wow.
That's future host right here.
Thanks.
That
was
so great.
So you made a big statement that it was one of the best things you've ever done in your life.
Yes.
I'm going to need you to unpack that a little bit.
Well, it wasn't a trip where we go and build houses.
Yeah. So just to pause you for a sec, our trips have different.
Yeah.
Some are very service heavy.
Yes.
Some are very language immersion heavy. Right. Yours was much more about kind of the ongoing relationships you've had with those kids in France and faith development.
Basically, it just taught me like a lot of perspective on my life. Like I went in there and like I didn't do anything like really like missionary-esque, But like I learned so much about God, my life, and my relationships with other people from just hanging out with Madame and people who don't follow Jesus, like hanging out with them and seeing like, what are they doing? And then like, well, why do I not realize this when I'm back at San Diego? Like, why do I see people like on my team and like not care that they just like don't care about God, but like I care about these people in France?
Wow.
Or just like,
Yeah.
just large perspective shifts. And like talking with Madame, we went on a hike, and there's this trail that runs like 6 different ones that run all the way through France. We went on it for like 3 hours, and we just talked about like theology and God the whole time. And I was like, well, I clearly know nothing about this. So, but yeah, just a lot of perspective changes that were just awesome. One of the best
What was
things.
an average day like in France? Like, what are some of the things you did?
First couple of days, we went to the high school, hung out with those kids like all day. And then the middle section, we would kind of go see towns and like old towns. We're talking like we went to this aqueduct that was like 2,000 years old.
Yeah.
And Madame would go hang out for 2 hours, buy lunch or whatever, speak French.
Because this part of this was a French language
Yes,
trip.
and it was quite funny seeing Spanish speakers on the trip struggling to be like, bonjour. And the store owners would be like, you can speak English. So did that, and then come home, have dinner, do a little circle, kind of go over the day, and oh my gosh, we had this high-low and Buffalo thing.
Yeah, I do that with my kids.
And Ryan Harrison is unbelievable at storytelling.
I love that.
I have never seen Miss Z like cry laughing before, but I thought she was actually going to stop breathing because she was laughing so hard.
So every night you guys would have a meeting.
Yes.
You probably do. Did you do worship while you were over there?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
We went and sang in churches. So we
Yeah.
sang in a Catholic church.
You guys did a lot of singing.
Madame is big on singing
Yeah.
a cappella in places that you probably wouldn't expect it.
Now, was in there one where they asked her, "Oh, is this a choir?"
Yes, that was the Catholic church. There was like 400 people just like looking back at us at the front entrance, and we're just there with our papers singing in French, words that half of our trip didn't know what it meant.
Because she said, yes, we are a choir.
And then and then the priest is like, are you guys a choir? And Madame's like, yeah. I was like, we are the chamber chorale, I guess. So
you get put on the spot a little bit.
Madame's pretty big on the spot ideas.
Yeah, which is great.
It's awesome.
Sounds about right.
Good. Okay, how about you? Tell me about your experience in Nepal. What was an average day like, and what were some of the most impactful moments?
I think the average day question is a hard one because we went to, I think, 4 different hotels and we were always in different areas doing different things.
Maybe just share a couple of the
But
things.
yeah, Nepal was definitely a cultural immersion trip with a little bit of service mixed in there as well. And so for most of the time we were in the city of Kathmandu, and we were going around and visiting temples and getting to kind of be thrown into the Buddhism and Hinduism temples. And that was really cool and very different from anything I've ever seen or probably ever will see again. Nepal is pretty much as far away as you can get from here.
Yeah.
And culturally and like physically very far away. The flight was very long, but worth it. And so it was really cool to just get thrown right into a whole different culture because they're so accepting and they like just want you to be a part of it. The main religion there is Hinduism. And so we went to a couple different Hindu temples and they welcome you in and they want to show you everything and they tour you around and tell you all about their religion. And we had a really cool on the ground guide named Sanju, and she lives in Nepal. She was born and raised there. She's Hindu, and she was just telling us all these amazing facts, and my mind was blown. Like, I did not know that a lot of the cultural practices that they have in Hinduism that are very similar to ones in like Old Testament Bible times, I was like so unaware that that still happened. And like you hear stories about like animal sacrifices and like their type of worship and that kind of thing, but you don't really ever see it. Like it's rare to see that in your lifetime.
It seems like
I
a
feel
thing
like.
people did thousands of years ago.
Totally. And then I see it, they're doing like chicken sacrifices in his Converse. And I was like, this is the most like juxtaposition of the modern and Old Testament kind of thing that my mind was just like trying to wrap around what was going on. But it was like beautiful. It wasn't like a weird, like none of it was icky. None of it was strange. Their culture is so amazing and beautiful. And I loved how they just wrapped us right into it. That was really cool. And we just got to see a lot of their cool cultural practices. There were like animal sacrifices and that kind of thing, which was like, well, okay.
This is happening.
This is happening. Yeah. Charlie.
Didn't he have like a head or something?
Yeah, I saw a goat head. There were some really exciting things going on. But at the end of the day, we circled up and we talked about it and we talked through all of it. And we're able to see it for like the beauty of it and the like amazing culture that's been preserved for so long that they didn't like change their ways. They've just like stuck to the same thing for a long time, which was really cool to see. And our debriefs were great. Miss Ruge and Wallace and Hendrickson helped us walk through all of the things that we'd seen because some of it was hard.
Yeah.
And like I'm an animal lover, and so like animal sacrifices are not very cute to see. And so that was hard for me, but also like necessary to kind of get out of the bubble of just what we have in Southern California and just to see something so different.
Okay, so share more about that because I think a lot of people might hear this and be like, why are kids going to like see Hindu temples?
Yeah.
And so from your own faith standpoint and as Christians, you talk about those debriefs at night, like how does that fit with Christian faith formation?
For me, the biggest part of my faith formation on the trip was when we went to, there's a couple different parts, but the first part was when we went to a Buddhist prayer session. It was at 5 a.m. Mm-hmm. We woke up at 4. Actually, Kelly and I forgot to set our alarm, so we woke up at 4:20 when people were knocking on our door. But everyone else woke up at 4, and we got in this little bus, piled in. The sun hadn't even risen yet. It was dark when we went inside the temple, and at 5 a.m., all of these Buddhist monks came in, and they just had this prayer session for like 30 minutes-ish, and we got to sit in on it. And I was sitting there thinking about how I have to drag myself out of bed at 9:30 to get to Venture Church on Sunday mornings. And it's like so hard for me to get up because I'm like, it's so early. And on the other side of the world, people are getting up at 4 a.m. so that they can sit and worship their God for 30, 45 minutes every day. And I was like, I can't even remember having a prayer that lasted longer than like 45 seconds. Like it just gave me a perspective shift on my own faith. And I felt very lazy. And I was like, my God is so amazing. He deserves all of the praise, all of my time, all of my thoughts. And here I am like trying to drag myself out of bed to go to church. And there's these people that are getting up so early and just so dedicated. And I think that dedication was really special to see and definitely made me want to just commit a lot more of my time to God, which is not something I feel like Christianity in America has gotten a little more lazy. And
so
that's just
like commercial a little bit.
And that is something that I picked up in Nepal. And I was like, they're so dedicated. Like, why are we not doing this? Like I should be a lot more dedicated. So that was one piece of it that impacted my faith. And then another piece of it was there are like no Christians in Nepal, or it's rare to find a Christian. There's no churches. It's all, Hinduism's the main religion. And when we went to a leprosy center, which again sounds scary, but the leprosy center that they had, a guy opened it because they're outcasts from society, from Hinduism, from Buddhism, from just the culture, because their culture and religion are intertwined. Yeah. And so what the culture or what the religion doesn't like, neither does the culture. And so they like cast out these people who were sick and they were seen as unclean and dirty. And so this man opened up a home for them so that they would be able to have a place to live, and they all were cured. I mean, they lost limbs, so obviously you can't like grow your limbs back, right. But they were no longer contagious. So they were able to live with their families, and it was really beautiful to go and see the impact that he had made for them, but also walking around that center and going up and hugging all of these people who were so broken and who had not had physical touch because people were so afraid of them was really impactful. And then the fact that majority of them were Christian. That was the only
the majority
Christians.
Of the lepers.
Yeah, the only Christians that I saw in Nepal were at the leprosy center. And they outcasts. Because Christianity was the only religion that took them in. Like when they were cast out from society and they were seen as just like nothing, the only religion that loved them and cared for them was Christianity. Like they found that love in Jesus, which was so amazing. And we were only at the Leprosy Center for like 10 minutes. And it was one of the biggest parts of my trip that just like confirmed my love for Jesus, because I was like, this is why I'm a Christian, for these people who don't get to be loved. They're just like outcasts. And this is why I'm a Christian, because we get to love these people.
Yeah. In our bubble, I feel like it's so easy to see Christianity as like a set of theology, theological views.
Yeah.
And so I love hearing you talk about, for these people, it was like the kindness of Jesus that is what won them over.
Yeah. There was a painting of Jesus, a remake of a famous painting of Jesus on the side of their shed. They had taped up crosses with just like painter's tape or random things that they had found on their windows. Yeah. And the language barrier was huge at the Leprosy Center, because they don't get the same education that you do when you are not sick. Yeah. And so they knew the word Christian in Nepalese. I forget what the word is for it. And then they were running around and they were like tapping on, like pointing at the crosses on their windows. And because they knew we were Christians, because I think that's a lot of the people that go through there to volunteer are like Christian or mission programs. And that I was like, this is amazing. Like they were so joyful and like wanted to tell us like, me too. Like I'm a Christian too. And I was just like, I was blown away. It was amazing.
Yeah. I mean, they're not as used to it, right? As having other people. They're such the minority. That's a really cool experience.
It was amazing. Yeah.
So let's talk about a little bit about the dynamics of your teams. So, so you said you went with mostly people you didn't know very well.
Yeah.
Okay. You said you had a group of buddies.
Mostly people I did know.
Okay. So I want to hear from each of you. What was that like?
For me, well, about half the people I knew, and I like making friends. I learned that I'm very extroverted somehow. So I grew really close to Tanner and Ryan and Robbie over the trip. And like I just didn't like know them. Well, I knew of them, but like
they weren't the ones you were close with going.
No.
Yeah.
And it was just really cool to like make new friends. And I made a million friends at the school, and it was really cool. But dynamics, when you go on a trip for 2 weeks with the same people that you don't normally hang out with, you realize their personality very quickly. So Madame and I were like, we want to make as many friends as possible. 7 on the Enneagram. Let's go.
Yeah.
No sleep. Where some other people were like, I need my introverted time. Like, this is too much. Some people were like Miss Z, like, oh man, she's awesome. So many problems happened, and Miss Z was just like, it's go time. We're going to fix this.
I love it.
She's
and
great.
Mr. Kiley is one of the most funny people I know. Same with Ryan. And it's just like, you see everyone's personality just accentuated, especially in the airport coming home. That was brutal.
Oh boy.
Well, what happened in the airport coming home?
I mean, we just had some sick people. And
that's right. I forgot about that. Yeah.
Boy.
Yeah. And it was just like,
yeah.
I was just walking around on the plane talking to people and everyone else was sleeping. Yeah. Everyone was like, why are you over here?
Please tell me you woke somebody up just to say hello.
Yes, I did.
Oh, Luke, that is just so terrible. Do you know how hard it is to sleep on a plane?
Unintentionally. I was talking to Chloe.
I would have supported you.
and then Aowen wakes up and she's like, "You're back." And I was like, "Yes, I am. I'm bored. We've been on a plane for 10 hours."
So one thing that I love, though, you mentioned, like, you made a bunch of friends.
Yeah.
And you've been on campus with those people for almost 3 years.
Yeah.
Right. So somehow there's something about a trip.
It was just brought me way closer to them.
Why is that? What is it that suddenly you're open to that you wouldn't have been beforehand? I hear this all the time.
I think we're so used to our own people at school that we kind of forget that people outside of that are like cool people. Like, you have like your 3 friends or whatever, and you're like, all right, this is cool, but like, there's other people out there.
Yeah.
Like Zach Harrington. Like, my man is awesome. And I was like friends with him in French class, but like we roomed and we just spent the whole trip together, and now we're buds.
Yeah.
And he's coming over to my house after school or whatever, and we're going to go and do something awesome. I don't really know.
But wise. We're going to make good choices.
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
Gentle reminder. AJ, so for you kind of intentionally chose a trip where you didn't have most of the people you didn't really know.
Yeah.
So what was that like?
Well, it was a bit of a worry for me going into it room-wise because, like, I'm a pretty sociable person, too. I'm pretty extroverted, so I was like, I can make friends, but, like, but being with people all the time and, like, rooming with people, I was like, is that going to be awkward? Like, what's going to happen? And I think something really cool that Miss Ruge and Coach Wallace and Miss Hendrickson decided to do was have us switch rooms every hotel that we went to, which was really cool because I got to room with almost everyone on the trip, which was a good way to make friends because there's nothing like the end of a long day, like debrief in bed, like just what has gone on
Hey,
the
I'm
trip.
AJ. Nice to meet you. Here's the deep, dark thing that I thought about today.
Yeah, I'm like, man, like we had some really like culturally challenging days. And so going and like laying in my bed at the end of the day, I'd be like, so you okay over there? Like just got to have some really cool conversations. And I think the thing about Santa Fe and all schools is like once you have your set friend group, it's not that you don't like want to make friends with other people, but like you just don't have the opportunity to. Well, you can make the opportunity to, but there's no like necessity.
It's almost like someone gets up and talks about making the opportunity, and then the kids don't listen until they go on a trip and do it.
You know what?
Hypothetically speaking,
look at that.
Sometimes it takes a little more of a push on
All
the
right.
trip.
Yeah.
And I think I love making friends, but there was no like necessity. Like, why would I go sit with someone new at lunch when I have my set friend group and I know like my routine and I stick to that? But when you're taken out of that and put into just a whole new group of people, you get to become friends with everyone. And we're going through really challenging things together. And it's kind of sink or swim. Like we either have to get along and push through it and link arms and like, okay, we got this. Like whether it's just a long day of walking and everyone's tired or like something that's like emotionally hard that happens in the trip or just things like that. Like we kind of are forced to get along because that's the only way you make it through is with that kind of fellowship that you have on the trip. And so I think that was something that helped us become really close too, is just like, we were like, guys, like we got to get through this together. Like we got to get through this trip, like 16-hour flight, like during the second leg, the 5-hour leg, we're like, we're either all going to kill each other or all we're going to be best friends. Like,
and just to be clear, it was 16 hours for the first leg.
Yeah.
And then you got on another plane for 5 hours.
16 hours. Well, 2-hour drive to LA, 16-hour flight to Qatar. Then we had a 6-hour layover in Qatar. And then we had a 5-hour flight to Nepal.
Yeah. Wow.
Long day. But bonding. Because
team bonding.
Team bonding.
Let's go.
First thing we do is a like 35-hour travel day together, and you don't get to choose your plane seats. And so we were like, all right, we're all going to be best friends.
All right.
And I think that was actually helpful though, to like start off the trip already having over a day together in maybe the hardest part of the trip, which is the travel day, because everyone's tired and getting tired of each other. And so Coach Wallace gave us a word of the day. He's like, grace. We're starting with grace.
Love it.
We did word of the day
Coach
every
Wallace,
day too.
What a guy.
What a guy,
Coach
right?
Wallace
He
is
gave
an
us,
awesome
he's
guy.
like, we're going to think about grace anytime we are so tired of each other and it's been a long day, we're going to just have grace. And I think that kind of opened up everyone's minds like, oh, I'm so mad at everyone. I'm so tired. And I just need a coffee. And then you're like, everyone's feeling that way. Let's all just, let's breathe and get through it together. And yeah, that helped form the friendships like from the get-go. And then it was really awesome the entire trip. I hung out with a lot of juniors that I didn't know very well. Which was really fun. Brigham, what a wonderful human being.
Hilarious guy.
Hilarious guy. Yeah, the juniors were amazing, and then got to become closer with some seniors that I just hadn't had the chance to get to know, which was really special. And so, yeah, I think the friendship part of it is the same in a lot of trips. It's just something that you don't really get to experience on campus because everyone's so like, okay, I'm good in my comfortable group. And there's no reason for me to venture out and make new friends. And so I think that was something that just is really special about all trips, is getting to have that friendship aspect.
I can't wait the next time Coach Wallace is frustrated with me to just be like, hey, let's have grace.
Word of the day.
Yeah.
Grace. It's a good one.
So you mentioned like the drive to LA. It got in my head. I'd forgotten. I can't believe we haven't talked about this. Your trip got off to quite the start.
It was quite the trip.
Why don't you go through the way you experienced the start of the trip?
Okay, we'll just go for the start. There was a lot more things during it that did not go to plan.
Sure.
But so I'm taking my test in anatomy on Tuesday at lunch.
Right. And you guys were supposed to leave. You were set to leave Wednesday.
Wednesday night.
Yes.
And then I walk up to the quad. I just aced my test. I was like, let's go. Everyone's playing pickleball. And then Hudson Taylor comes sprinting out to me. He's like, Seim, where have you been? And I'm like, I was taking my test, man. And then he's like, the entire school is looking for you. I was like, why?
Ironically, this was the first day of our phone fast.
Yes, this
where
was.
You weren't allowed to have your
my phone was in my car.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay. And then I went to Madame's room, and then everyone like was like yelling at me, like, Seim, where were you? And I was like, I was just taking my test. And walk in, there's like drawings on the board of flights, and I see LAX. I'm like, oh, that's a plane. And then Madame's like, so we're leaving in like 4 hours. You need to go home and pack. And I was like, oh, okay. So I said bye and just went to my house, packed up. All my other French trip peers were already gone. They were gone like an hour ago.
So the backstory is all our flights got canceled.
Yes.
And they had rebooked us for Thursday.
Yep.
But there was a pretty good chance that was also going to get canceled. And so our other option was to leave that day on Tuesday.
Which is great.
And so we told you guys,
got us an extra day.
Go home, pack your stuff, come back in 3 hours.
Yeah, so we came back,
Yeah.
got on the bus ride that somehow lasted like for an eternity.
Well, you left at 4 and you drove to LAX.
Yeah, it was probably like 3 hours.
Yeah.
It was brutal. But yeah,
but isn't that a great part of the story now?
that was great. And then
Bonding.
And then we got on the plane, and then we, in London, night there, finally got to France the next day.
What would you tell a student who's on the fence about, should I apply for a trip? Do I want to do this? I didn't even finish the question yet. What would you tell them?
Go.
Go.
What Luke said. I think that this opportunity that Santa Fe has for trips is unlike anything you will find anywhere else.
Yep.
It's really special, and it's something that should 100% be taken advantage of, because when else are you going to be able to go to Nepal with a bunch of your peers and awesome teachers? That's another part. Seeing your teachers out of the classroom, just in the wild, is amazing.
Sometimes you think we only exist in the walls of our class.
Well, I have a mom as a teacher, so I know.
That's true. I'll run into kids at the grocery store, and it's like their first question is like, "What are you doing here?" And like my answer is like, "What do you think I'm doing here as a grocery store? Like, do you think I exist in the walls of the room? Like when you leave, I just disappear, or like I pull out a little bed over here, you know?" But anyway, yes.
Well, that is a really fun part of the trip too, and you get closer with teachers, and that is a fun bond to have for sure. And then also just the opportunity is unlike anything you'll ever have, and there's no reason not to go. And like for me, like money was an issue. I was worried about that, but coming up, there's so many creative ideas you can do. Like, don't let that be the reason you don't go on a trip. Because for me, I was like, why did I just choose the most expensive trip that Santa Fe has? Like, way to go, AJ, of course. And then
it's funny how amazingly you started saying yes to babysitting.
It's crazy how that happened.
Wow.
Weird coincidence, must be. But there's so many creative ways. I sold candles. My older brother went on trips. He made soap. Like, you come up with these.
He made soap.
Cade made soap?
Cade made soap.
Oh, my God. I didn't know he knew what soap was.
Right? Me neither.
That's awesome.
But apparently he knows how to make it. So, there's a lot of creative ways that you can come up with making the money. And so that's like, that should not be the reason for you not to go on a trip. And there's just so many more reasons why you should.
Yeah.
I'll note for listeners too, there is financial aid available for some of our
Yeah.
trips. Luke, what would you say? You said go.
I would say that it's what you make of it. So like you just are running around this random country, like in these towns, and it's all about what you make of it, right? So please go. Please experience it to the fullest, invest 110%, and it will be so worth it in the end. But like if you go and just like kind of make your way through it and be like, oh, I'm staying in a 2-star hotel, I haven't had food in 7 hours, I've had over 50 croissants. To be clear,
a 2-star hotel is bad in your mind?
I'm just saying, no, the 2-star hotel was awesome.
Okay, good. Okay.
Or I've had 6 croissants for breakfast every morning.
My
because
toilet
there's
is a
nothing else
hole
to
in the
do.
ground.
The lights
Yeah.
don't
Oh,
turn
yeah.
on.
Gosh, you guys had that in Nepal, huh?
Only at one place. It was a public restroom. And I was like, okay,
That's
I'll hold
cool.
it. I'll wait. Thanks.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's so if you go, live it to the fullest.
Totally.
Make what you want of it. But if you invest 110%, it will change your life.
Yeah.
Well, I can't thank you guys enough. Even though I kind of love making fun of you both, I really enjoy hanging out with you. And I know that you're only here because you have to be, but I'm so glad that it was you two. So thank you for coming and sharing.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah,
Of course.
thanks for having us.
I love talking anyways.
Yeah.
So
Love
I
chatting
just
with
get
you.
to talk where people want to listen to me.
Well, you represent our school very well, both of
Thank
you.
you.
And
Thank
thanks
you.
for opening up about what you've been learning. And,
Of course.
and we're thrilled to have you here.
Anytime you need me,
So
just
yeah,
it's
and
pretty
just a
cool.
reminder, it wasn't my choice. So just throwing that out there. All right, we got to get you back to class.
Well,
I know, yeah, we do. I know.
Well-
it has to happen. You're not graduated yet. You still got a year to go. So,
close.
so thanks for being here, and to our listeners and viewers, thank you so much for checking us out. If this is the first time you've heard one of our podcasts, you can catch other episodes of Eagle Perspective on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify. You can see our video podcasts on YouTube or elsewhere podcasts are available. Come check us out. We look forward to seeing you again soon.